Welcome. Thank you for joining our Manufacturing and ERP Practice Best Practice Series webinar. I'm Becky Melody, your hostess for today's presentation. The discussion today will cover introductions, webinar logistics, direction for post-webinar collaboration, and our discussion topic, implementing SAP Manufacturing Execution in Life Sciences. We have two tremendous presenters today. Jim Kerr, Vice President of the U.S. Data Management Life Sciences Commercial Practice, has over 20 years of experience in life sciences. Jim is a seasoned leader with over, 20 years of experience among several verticals of the life science industry, including medical device, pharmaceutical manufacturing and distribution, biotechnology, clinical and contract manufacturing, as an ERP, MES program manager, and computer systems validation subject matter expert. Jim is also recognized as a corporate IT vision and strategy expert, as well as an expert in organizational change management. I'd like you to welcome Michael Walton. He's the Atos Senior Practice Director, having over 25 years of career progression in manufacturing and supply chain through practice leadership, project and program management to cross-functional global solutions management. Mike has proven himself adept at both strategic thinking and tactical execution. Mike has demonstrated strength as program manager for one of the world's largest SAP ME implementations. It was version 6.0. And as program manager leading the medical device company, SAP ME implementation, again version 6.0. He recently led a global lean process program for a leading high-tech manufacturing company over a 2-year period, which resulted in a 42% reduction in overall cost. This was combined labor and materials. It's pretty exciting. The content of today's presentation will be covered in approximately 30 minutes, and then we'll invite you to post questions for our team via the iLink message board on the lower left of your screen. Or you can join our discussion on LinkedIn and post questions there. The overall goal of today's webinar is to facilitate discussion, share ideas, and explore solutions together. We do appreciate you joining us, and now I'll turn the presentation over to Jim.
All right, thank you, Becky. Before we start, we'll just briefly give a quick overview of our companies. U.S. Data Management, for those who don't know, we are exclusively focused on the life sciences industry, and we have established ourselves as one of the market leaders around computer compliance, especially computer systems in the ERP, MES, PLM, but we also have practices in other areas, and at this time we cover pretty much the entire pharmaceutical or medical device value chain. And some of those practices are listed there on the right-hand side. We last year actually validated our 1,000th system, and we've got now easily in excess of 150 different customers that we work with. So Mike Walton is going to give you a little quick snapshot of Atos.
Hey, thank you, Jim. So Atos has a long history. Its roots are originally in Philips, and then a number of other acquisitions over a very long history. And recently, the acquisition of Siemens IT Services Organization. And so we're approximately now around 79,000 employees globally in 42 countries. One of the primary verticals we focus on is a med device and also, of course, pharma. And in that, we have over 10,000 manufacturing consultants globally. And of those, we have well over 200 at this point. It's around 240 to 40 plus MES-specific consultants. Those are spread across multiple MES systems. and our revenues are around $12.8 billion. So it's pretty large, all focused on IT, and med device is a huge vertical of ours that we've been dealing with for a long time, well within our roots more than 20 years ago. So thank you. For the next slide, we're going to go into, in this particular webinar, we're going to talk about some context around integrated manufacturing and what is it. So then leading into that, how do we deal with MES within the med device? Some of the common questions and some of the issues that are presented with that, as well as with audits, the types of vendors and suppliers, and an overview of some of the risks, the details. We'll talk about some of the customers that we've done this for, and hopefully you can apply this to either current or future projects or an initiative that maybe you have within your own organization. So please feel free. We've left time at the end so that we could get into some quality discussion. We didn't want this to be just one direction. So what is the integration of the integrated manufacturing landscape? So with all the applications, what we see at the very top in the industry consulting arena is the business process transformation. And that really lies into that integrated manufacturing and planning layer. So many companies are asking themselves, well, I've outsourced this, we do that, so what is it we actually do? How can we transform into the next generational company? And so with those questions come the tools and techniques from BPT, and then from that, how that affects the IT layer within the PLM and ERP landscape. And then under that integration of all those industry solutions around MES, PLM, and supply chain collaboration, and then some point solutions like track and trace and serialization. That's where they then play. And then after that, you get into more of an application layer, which is more common state of what we do today. And then you get into the technology layer underneath of that. The focus of today is to talk about the MES component of this integrated manufacturing. And the real play is in the value of orchestrating the PLM, ERP, and MES so that we can solve a number of problems that a number of customers are going through in the med device arena. So next slide, is at a more myopic view, this is what that would look like. Many of you have challenges today that range from top down, of how do we collaborate better, how do I leverage my engineering within my PLM space, how can I speed that up for new product initiatives or innovation, how can I then push that through and coordinate my orders within ERP and have them distributed across either multiple plants or have the visibility to be able to control it across a number of systems within my plant, and then down into the MES layer, and that becomes the execution of that and the orchestration of that within the plant. So from a context perspective, that was the purpose of the last two slides. Some of you actually will be running into automation challenges. We see customers running into legacy controls and operations because of Honeywell announcements of discontinuing support for specific systems. I know they fall into the med device arena or old DCS systems from other system application with the ABB piece that they've been doing. Other vendors continue to try to harmonize onto one common platform, so there are a lot of challenges that come into that space. In the value prop around MES, it's truly about synchronizing an orchestration within the plant, but even beyond that, in terms of coordinating your engineering, your planning, your bill of process, and how ERP manages that information and properly reporting to it and distributing orders from a planning process. At the bottom, you'll see some typical numbers that we see that come from this type of solution. We're seeing a tremendous amount of stock reduction. And in many ways, it's because of the coordination that is given between PLM, ERP, and MES, or MOM, and then within the MOM or MES environment, being able to actually
put the triggers in place to monitor that inventory, or around cost reductions, because we see in the med device arena the paperless environment, so that all the paper and the traceability that you have to for compliance reasons all becomes mostly automated and paperless. And that alone is a huge cost reduction. We are seeing in numbers north of 30% in many different med device manufacturing companies, simply by making everything from calibration management to the paper traveler being paperless and the procedures being paperless, with work instructions on the screen, having them interactive and being able to communicate real time back to engineering. This is how we do it. Now, USDM and Atos have collaborated to make sure that how we do it is fully integrated to validation. Both companies have invested into method, not only the method, but these acceleration packs that will allow you to be able to speed this type of implementation, be able to rapidly select the right system, and be able then to cost effectively roll these systems out. Until recently, these systems have been extremely expensive, but through these tools and techniques that we've invested in, it's cut the cost of implementation quite a bit. This has been rated by Gartner and Aberdeen and other analysts as the best-in-class methodology around MES. It's been proven over and over with Johnson & Johnson, Johnson Controls, and a number of other companies, AkzoNobel, etc. There's many others that this is by far and away the very best approach. What we've done in these packs that I talked about is you'll see at the top in there the red and blue and white screen that says M4 MES. There are industry templates in there for specifically around the business process, KPIs, measures, use cases, and the validation components. From that's where USDM and Atos have invested heavily to leverage that specifically for med device customers, and we have customers today that are enjoying that savings. And then moving down to the left, that's the taxonomy that we use, from stakeholder to user requirements to processes and the use cases associated, through the KPIs, the technical designs, from legacy artifacts from systems we've implemented, all the way up through the costing elements, which often everybody really need in order to understand the business case, driving it down to the application components to be deployed. And wrapped around this and fully integrated the validation. How we do that we'll explain in a moment. One of the systems that we use that we strongly prefer in this space is SAP ME. It's a templatized approach. You can rapidly get to a place of paperless, and you can customize it in a satisfactory level without having to break the bank. In many ways, it's a preferred solution if you're an ERP customer of SAP already, simply because the integration, which is a lot of the cost, much of the integration is already delivered. We've been able to demonstrate that by doing conference room pilots together very quickly, USDM and ourselves, by showing the customer how quickly we can integrate it to their ERP. That's a huge cost saving. In its approach to med device, customers like Varian, J&J, Philips Medical, and others have selected this solution. This is an overview of the transactions that are being exchanged and at what level, at a high level within the ME format with an ERP. It's important to note this is the roadmap. I wanted to show you the roadmap, not just what's delivered today, but the investment that they're making in this solution. It's certainly not the only one. There are other solutions out in the med device space, and MES is a little bit still immature relative to how the approach is done and the variable solution. There are well over 60 recorded MESs that we evaluate year to year that we then have as a partners, only the ones that we feel are the leaders in their market that have a very stable, reliable product. This is one of them. Some typical MOM challenges and what MES will really approach along with USDM and Atos' joint methodology is around requirements, scope, and business case. The M4 MES methodology and the way we approach it solves that. Questions such as, what requirements, how can we speed up the analysis of that, and how do we get to a selection? What is the MES functionality that would apply to us, and how can we leverage that properly? Often the case is vendors come to you with a sales pitch that's often around why them. It's more around, before you even get to that, why MES? Why MOM? Why should you leverage that? And then selecting the right package to then marry up to your needs. Not all med devices companies are equal. Not all pharma are equal. You do different products. Some have joints. Some have spine. Some have major trauma. Some have devices that you build that are specifically for baby devices, incubation devices, you name it. So in these medical devices, such a wide range. And what ERP and what is your technological environment? What's your competency within your company? How mature are your plans? And where's the real business value? Because often you could be selecting a Goliath when your problem is not very small or is very small. Or you may be going to replace a tremendous number of aged systems, and you can do it if you buy the right package. Then moving into the MES kernel, how do I manage that across multiple plants? How do I leverage my business process to drive my plans such that I can properly plan and do true lean principles? How do I remain with standards? And then how do I deploy that? How do I control the versions and the needs that are out in there that I can meet my internal customer needs? This methodology and choosing the right system will address those. You will see the savings. Then, of course, the validation, which you can't underscore enough. So, Jim, why don't you give us a little bit, talk to us about the validation in this space.
Well, good. Yeah, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. As you know, first I want to thank Mike for joining us here. Mike is, as he said, has many years of experience in this space, and we have really seen the benefits of working with experts like Mike and also with Atos. So I think, as some of you know, SAP certainly has a long history in not only in medical device but also other areas of life sciences. It's important to know that they are continuing to make the investments that are needed in developing the product. And as Mike said, it's still a burgeoning and changing layer of the industry. The thing that we have found as we have worked with the many customers that we have is that the SAP ME solution really does a good job of meeting the typical medical device requirements. And the integration, particularly if you're already an SAP customer, really is a significant factor in helping you accelerate the validation. Less customization, less development, less documentation, less testing. And in fact, one of Mike mentioned earlier about accelerators, and one of the things that we've collaborated on, and we've also collaborated with another partner of ours called Genalogics, and it is the use of tools and processes, and as it relates to our testing center of excellence. We use this method, and we're going to go into a little bit of the details here to help scale the validation and properly, and to most cost effectively execute that testing so that it meets the user requirements and the highest levels of quality. It starts at 12 o'clock here on this diagram with documenting business processes. And we're going to talk about how a little bit more detail on that here in a minute or so. They're annotated in a certain way, and we'll get into that. One of the main reasons for that is to be able to demonstrate in these processes where and why electronic records and signatures are going to be implemented or required to be implemented in a solution like SAP ME per your organization's 21 CFR, either Part 820 or Part 210 to 11 if you're a pharma regulations. Part of that is certainly the risk-based approach. And then all throughout the rest of the cycle, a lot of what we do for companies is help them not only implement and utilize, but then really, I think, help them better use some of the tools that are out there. And the one in particular is certainly what I think a lot of folks know as Quality Center. Now, recently, in a recent version, they've changed their name now. Now it's now called HP Application Lifecycle Management. But particularly in an MES type of implementation, and this is regardless of whether it's SAP or Oracle or Honeywell or whatever the other solution is. It's very typical to have a templatized solution that gets rolled out to different local manufacturing facilities. And one of the things that Quality Center now allows for is a single place for all of those rollouts to capture their requirements, traceability, build their test plans and test scripts, track their deviations, collaborate, all within a single instance that can be shared across the world, and especially in the case of a global implementation. So, and these are one of the. This is, I think, another powerful accelerator. And with SAP in particular, SAP also has built a built-in SAP add-in for Solution Manager. So if you're one of those folks out there who uses Solution Manager, this is another accelerator that you can take advantage of. So I mentioned the importance of business processes. They are, of course, important in any implementation, regardless of what the application is or what the process is. But one of the things that's key when you're talking about manufacturing execution systems is that move to paperless. I think anyone who's in manufacturing and life sciences knows the move to your paper batch record or your paper device history record and moving that to one that is fully electronic and compliant. There's a lot more work involved than just what the system can do. It's very much a people and process, largely people and processes that are enabling this to occur. So we annotate and build processes in such a way where not only the implementation teams can utilize them in many ways, but probably most important is the way that we annotate each of the steps, and in particular, demonstrating where the direct or indirect GMP impacts are, what regulatory subpart is being impacted, whether audit trail needs to be enabled or not, and what the signature is, the signature approval, whether it's electronic or a manual signature. We know, of course, that not all transactions, or at least in terms of master data, may occur in the history record. So sometimes these things cross different systems. There are plenty of folks out there who use multiple systems to enable a process. And so this is a way where we can demonstrate to an agency, to a regulatory agency, your compliance with your regulations, and as well as with 21 CFR Part 11. And it's a proven accelerated way to do things. I think Mike also mentioned this earlier, content accelerator packs, and we've Atos and USDM, we've made some significant investments in bringing our experiences together so that our future customers can take advantage of this. So it's around user requirements, test cases, as well as all of the validation package deliverables like validation plans, test plans, even IQs for the installation of hardware and software that is specific to SAP ME, and all of the other components that are part of a typical installation. And we also make these available to be imported into HP Quality Center if that's something that's desired. So again, we're trying to save time and money when it's time to begin one of these implementations. Now we also have validation packs for other applications. We don't just do them for SAP ME. We also have them for Oracle and for EBS, Agile, TrackWise, etc. So in many cases, when there's a customer that has SAP, they very often can have other systems tracking different data. So TrackWise might be an example of that, or Labware perhaps for laboratory information. So this is another way where we can help accelerate those requirements and those implementations. So I think Mike showed this slide a little bit earlier, and we've invested a lot of time and effort in combining our methods, but also it is also one that is that's highly adaptable to your organization's quality management system. So what we don't do is come in and say this is the way it needs to be done. We recognize that life sciences is certainly different, and companies, particularly ones that are based in GAMP, will find that it's very easy to adapt this method to the needs of the life sciences industry. So at this point, I would like to turn it back over to Mike. Mike, do you have anything else to add here?
What I'd like to say to everybody is I really appreciate you coming. It was short. I hope that you learned something. And have you got any questions?
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Mike. We appreciate the very solid presentation there. As Mike just mentioned, we will be turning the presentation over to the question and answer session. If you would please notice the bottom left of your screen. You can type in your questions there for our presenters. And while you're doing that, I'd like to remind you to visit our website at usdatamanagement.com, and you can see the recorded session of this presentation. It will be posted there later today. And you can also take a look at the upcoming presentations and refer to us any suggestions you have for upcoming topics. We'd like to hear your feedback. We also like to hear what pain points you're struggling with, anything that we can do to offer direction. Okay, very good. Our first question coming from Stacy says, are you working to identify an MES/MOM solution, and how do you do this?
So I'll take that one. It's Mike Walton. I'll kick the presentation back by one to address that. In the methodology, what we do is we or you can do it internally. You do either an opportunity scan or an IT scan, and in doing so, we've done many of these. The focus is on what's the business case for change and being able to identify where those pain points are and focusing on that change. Leveraging then the requirements and mapping them out to the known systems on the market. There are many leaders. SAP is one of the foremost for sure, and that is how you end up going through this selection process. And I can tell you that the selection process usually takes from the moment you start initializing your plan
to coordinating, identifying the opportunity, the requirements, and then from that, being able to formalize that into mapping it out into different solutions is about 9 to 10 weeks. If you already clearly know your pain and you're really just going into it a heads-down package selection, you can usually get through that in about 4 weeks.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. Next question is from Stanley. Are you having any manufacturing challenges today with scrap, planning, production cost, or quality?
So one of the primary things that you choose MES for in med device is quality, and being able to affect those savings as well as inventory. And so from a quality perspective, we see business cases that range anywhere into the millions per year in terms of reduced scrap or increased quality, depending on what's being manufactured. And how they go about it is leveraging the MES functionality to really do prevention. So we all know how to do root cause analysis, but the prevention up front is where you've got to focus your effort. And the MES gives you, or MOM gives you, an enablement to do that and the visibility to it from a managerial level to a work center operations level to create prevention.
Very good. Next question from Sue, asking how long is a typical implementation?
A typical med device first initial implementation is usually around 4 months. They can be slightly faster or slightly longer. We've seen some of them run a little bit longer because they want and have requirements that are more around customization and trying not so much features, but having it be a fit for them at multiple sites. And then you can spread out to a year in terms of if you've got multiple plants, because it has to be rolled out across multiple plants. And then if it's global, it may be a little longer for the full MES. If full MES is not required, it can be a much more reduced timeline.
Very good, very good. Okay, next question, interesting from Cheryl here. When was it obvious that SAP discovered that teaming with Atos and USDM as their primary medical device partner? Question kind of drops there.
Well, thanks for the question. And so I'll start, and then Jim, if you would share your component. The bottom line is that SAP is pushing for faster, cheaper, more rapid deployments of their product. And we've invested into deploying the product across multiple verticals and doing it as fast as possible and doing it with the highest degree of quality. That was the roots within M4 MES, and then making sure that we stay focused on what's important. And then relative to validation, the partnership between USDM and ourselves, we were both recognized leaders in the industry for validation and implementation and selection. So it came down to, it was a really an obvious partnership, and it's already paid many dividends for our customers. Jim?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting, the main part of that is, these are all of our customers, whether it's SAP or USDM or Atos, and I think SAP has recognized that it's looking for its partners to help all of us be successful, and we don't have an interest in having challenging implementations just as much as anybody else, and so I think as Mike said, this was a situation where I think we were really best of breed partners, and it has worked out well so far, and I think it should work out well into the future.
Very good, very good. Here's a question from Lori. Have you seen SAP MES implemented in only a portion of a plant while leaving the other portion on SAP and its legacy MES system? Is this a viable roadmap plan?
Well, I have seen it. I have seen where there's some various instances where they've got old VisiPrize implemented, and it's working and it's fine, but they don't want to expand the legacy solution, so they'll implement a newer version of ME, and they get joined at the integration layer so it becomes transparent. It also, the roadmap needs to continue after that, because eventually you'll want to get off the old VisiPrize platform. Additionally, there's, before VisiPrize, SAP extension to the shop floor. And if that is what you're on today, again, the same thing. They can coexist. I've even got a customer that's got BON, and BON, as from a manufacturing perspective, is in the plant, and we're using ME for the new components of the plant, and which is quite unique. And I also have that in aerospace, as a matter of fact. So they can coexist, but my recommendation is that you have a plan long-term to decommission the legacy system and go to the full benefit of having an ME up-to-date instance across your entire plant eventually.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. All right, looks time for us to wrap up. I do appreciate that so many of you took the time to attend today's presentation, and we do trust that the information shared has been helpful. I appreciate that several of you have posted compliments and notes of thanks here in the chat room for us, but we'd encourage you to take a look at the discussion out on our LinkedIn group page. You can add comments and feedback there. Again, we'd welcome any insight you care to share for our continual improvement process here. We're open to topics, again, for future discussion. Let us know how we can best help you. We do we know that the time in your day is valuable, and that you've given up a little bit of it to learn with us here is a tremendous compliment in itself, so thank you for that. On behalf of the Atos and USDM management team, we appreciate the opportunity to team with you towards excellence in compliance. Thanks again, and have a wonderful day.